Hey Ian.
Hey, Michael.
So here we are. It's a couple hours before our next session with the Nile
Nile
Project at Manifold Recording, and tell us what you have set up.
Okay, so a lot of what we're going to be doing involves this cluster of room mics.
All right.
There's a mono U47. This is sort of it's set in Omni, and it is essentially a mono source for the room.
Gotcha.
The room and the three instruments together fairly close.
Mm-hmm.
This gives us this one stereo perspective.
Yep.
And these will go up a little bit higher. And this is a different stereo perspective in that it is something called a bloom line pair,
Mm-hmm.
where the mics pick up in 90 degrees up and 90 degrees down.
Mm.
So it's yet a different picture, and also a completely different kind of microphone. That's a ribbon,
Yeah.
which is sometimes more friendly to a whole bunch of percussion.
Okay.
Let's see.
Now here you've got another stereo pair. You got stereo pairs at the wazoo.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And part of this is to cover a lot of bases that were started at the beginning of the project before we made final decisions.
Right.
So the mix engineer has a ton of options.
Yeah.
So we're following through with the change of some microphones. We're following through with the channel count and the mic positions, approximate mic positions that evolved from the very first session.
Gotcha.
In which case, there's a little bit more than necessary, but we're going to keep the continuity.
Yeah. Let's look at some of the spot mics that are going to be
Okay.
around the ensemble of the African. I mean, when I say ensemble, I mean there's a lot of African drums that are going to go around that bass drum.
Yes, the bass drum is sort of the only sort of Western drum, and I'm guessing that the part that the bass drum does, which is essentially most of the time just on the downbeat,
Yeah.
or 4,
Mm-hmm.
would be played by another percussionist if it wasn't for the fact that you can use a bass drum pedal to sort of drive. And then this is surrounded by the Ohangla drums,
Yep.
and there are some cymbals.
Yep.
And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 4 of the Ohangla drums, which sit directly on the floor. And there are some small cymbals that go around this.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are for the tom drums.
Mm-hmm.
These are essentially just a stereo picture of this
Sure.
space.
Sure. Sure.
On the kick drum, we've got an assortment. There's a D12E
Yep.
on the inside and a Corby.
Yeah, we've had that Corby in a drawer for a long time, and
I
we
know.
finally pulled it out. How's it been behaving?
It's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
It is fantastic. I hadn't really tried it on drums, and now I love it.
Yeah. How about that?
They're really fantastic on drums, and I thank Wolfgang for showing that to me.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how close it was to a Neumann U47 FET.
Mm-hmm.
It really does sound like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if you can believe it,
I didn't like it on vocals, and that's what I
Yeah.
originally wanted to try it on.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you can believe it, one of the reasons I got that mic way back in the day is
Yeah.
that everybody in Gear Sluts was raving about it as a 47 FET. And
Yeah,
so-
yeah. Well, the funny thing is that I have used a pair of Corbys in the past, but they were tube variants
Right.
that were closer to C12s.
Uh huh.
So
Not a bad place to
when
be.
these Corbys didn't respond like the Corbys I was used to, I was like, well, this isn't what I want.
Right. Right.
I wasn't really thinking that it's really a completely different animal,
Yeah.
and it has a lot of uses that I see now.
Nice.
So I'm very glad that we have them.
Awesome.
I'm really excited about having that discovery.
Cool. Should we swing over to this long,
Sure.
long and frame drum world?
Sure. Well, there are two, I believe they're Kenyan drums,
Okay.
and they are single-headed and they sit on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and they are vaguely sort of kettle drum shaped. There's two of those.
Yeah.
And then
And they're beautiful.
Yeah,
They've got
They're
beautiful
gorgeous.
animal skins on the top
Uh-huh.
and
And then
interesting
there's this
shape.
crazy, really long drum
Yes.
that the guy is playing, and it's essentially a very long tube,
Uh-huh.
maybe 8 inches in diameter,
Yeah.
10 inches in diameter, and just one head
Yeah.
that I believe is made from monitor lizard.
Yes, that's right.
And it is mic'd sort of from the front
Yeah.
for the percussive attack,
Yeah.
and then another mic down here near the end. So you can see that if I was sitting here and I was playing it like this, how long the drum actually is.
Right, right. It's the opposite of a rototom.
Yeah, exactly. It's I guess maybe 4 feet long.
Uh-huh.
The other location, where we're recording what is considered a tabla in Egypt, in India would be called doumbek. It
Yeah.
actually has two distinct tones, a doom and a beck.
Yeah.
The tabla, the doumbek, you get the front of the head with either the 87 or the 57,
Yeah.
and the back of it with a 421.
Let's look at DI land.
Oh yes, there's a bunch here. This is for the bass and the guitar, one of the guitars, and there are 2 DIs for each instrument.
Yeah.
The reason being is one is coming straight from the instrument, and the other one is coming after a series of effects pedals. There are some other directs that we will use that are in the booths for when we are simultaneously recording. There are a few other electric instruments on some of the, the bass tracks for the recording. In other words, the ensemble playing together, where we have possibly 2 guitars, a bass, and something called a krar,
Yes.
which is an electric harp, which is I had never seen before.
Now, I've got a question.
Yes.
So are all these percussion instruments in this room roughly the same volume level, or are some much louder
Well,
than others?
No, the idea is that the players self-balance.
Okay.
That it's an ensemble sound, and the vast majority of the sound is the ambient sound of them all playing together in the same space. So you're combining the sound in the physical universe, meaning air actually. The sound waves actually smashing into each other, into the wall, as opposed to combining just the electrical signals. We'll be doing a lot of oud today, which is
It's kind of soft.
it is very soft. So it's not typically paired with 3, 4, 5 percussion instruments, but this is a project representing a whole bunch of countries in a very large continent. With a lot of different styles. So there's a lot of matching of instruments that maybe didn't evolve together.
Should we go check out the booths?
Sure.
All right.
Okay. So in here,
Step into the light.
we essentially have all of these mics set up because we initially were experimenting with these different mics, and it ended up with there are lots of different singers
Yeah.
and lots of different styles, and also a wide variety of volumes,
Sure.
some of which are really loud.
Yeah.
And these mics will perform differently depending on the style of singing. Some of the singing style is designed, was originally to travel great distances, so it's really quite loud.
Yeah. Let me just swing through there. So
Sure.
You pop out. Over here. I am just tall enough for this booth. So there on the far left, we got a C12. Is that right?
C12, Telefunken C12,
Yep.
and then a U48, which is, or is it U47? This one is the cardioid and figure 8.
Okay.
The other one is the cardioid and omni.
Yep. I got the.
SM7,
Yep.
which is really great for the really loud voice,
Yep.
and an M149, which is also great for really loud things.
Yep. Cool. And then we're also using the back half of the booth, yes?
Yes, we are. We've got some separation from the front half. It's a large booth.
Yep.
And we have space in the back so that we can basically track an electric instrument that would involve a DI. And we don't really have much in the way of bleed to the vocal microphones.
Sure, sure.
So when we have a whole lot of people playing all at one time,
Yep.
we're using pretty much all of our spaces and almost all of our cables and almost all of our mic stands.
Booth B, we haven't been inside.
Oh, we
Booth
haven't
B.
been inside booth B. So this is going to be a vocal booth, and also for when there is a live acoustic instrument with the drums. In this booth is an M149, and also our Telefunken Elam 251
It comes in here.
that comes in here, and will also record the oud when it's in the room, so it
Gotcha.
can move back and forth.
Gotcha.
So we have sort of a lot of the drums and percussion on the first 16 channels, and then we have 7 channels of the main room cluster, so 3 stereos and then mono, and essentially the mics in the booths. And then we have our DI inputs, both out in the main room and in the 2 different booths. And this is for some mics that are not currently set up, but will be set up when we do the group vocals.
So generally speaking, you've got effects on the far right, you got room on the right.
Yeah,
And then you
yeah.
got-
So a lot of what I'm listening to when we're tracking live is these rooms, the vocals, the DI signals, and then bringing in some of the close mics,
Yep.
sort of as needed,
Yep.
and just monitoring everything that's going on.
Cool.
So this covers. This is all set up because the time constraints.
Hey.
The time constraints essentially make this process need to run very smoothly and very fast, and there are a lot of people here,
Yep.
10 to 11 people, and we were bouncing back and forth from recording the entire ensemble
Yep.
live to going into overdub tracks. So there's a lot sort of all set up at the same time,
Sure.
so that we can swiftly do all of these different things.
Yeah.
Many of the arrangements are pretty complex.
How many songs are we shooting for on Sunday?
2 more, definitely.
Uh-huh.
If things go extremely well, 3.
Okay.
But that's not really counted on. It's
Gotcha.
just
Yeah. So hear that, world? It takes a good 5 hours to do a song when everybody's got it dialed in.
yes, exactly. And well, we'll be doing some. That includes the overdubs,
Yeah, yeah.
etc.
But I'm just saying,
Yes, exactly.
an hour a minute is a well-oiled machine.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's after
Getting to
everything is set up
Sure.
and all of your decisions are made.
Yep.
Um,
Cool.
yeah.